Okay, welcome to Conflict Havoc number 2. This is part 2 Omega because I've deleted quite a few of these video attempts. Alright, so to recap it, the darker black skinned people have been raised by their parents to teach them to hate the lighter black skinned people, who in turn have been raised by their parents to hate the darker black skinned people. And the middle color black skinned people fall in between. And they are also taught to hate the lighter skin and the darker skinned black people. That would sum up what I started with in the videos that I deleted. So let's deep dive into that shit. Alright? If you hate somebody because they're omega dark, hyper dark, super dark, or if you hate somebody because they're in the middle, or if you hate somebody because they're omega light, super light, white passing, that's where the problems come in. This is a problem in the black community. It is sadly also a problem in the Native American community and the Asian community as well. It is probably not as embedded in them as it is in the black community. Me being multicultural, I know this shit firsthand from the black community. And that's what this video was pertaining to each time that I have had to delete the damn thing. So let me break it down for you. Alright? As a kid, a lot of my self-hatred was brought on to me by darker or browner than me skin-toned of black people. Now, the reason why I'm going to put it that way is because the race of people were black. You have no how many times how many more black people than white people have called me a half-breed, who have told me that I am never going to be black enough for black people. No black girl will ever want me because I'm not good enough because I come from people who are not pure D black. Newsflash for them, if you're as light as me, you probably got some white or Native American ancestry too. Whether you acknowledge it or not is a whole nother ballgame, which most people tend not to acknowledge that shit. It seems like my shoes must have shrank. Completely irrelevant. But that being said, this whole thing, like all my life, I've had to deal with this shit. And I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are other mixed people who have had to endure this clusterfuck that is. Now, I know you're all thinking, well, you don't really look black, James. Yeah, tell me something I don't know. Tell me something brand new, something that's going to make people understand. Well, it's kind of hard to make people understand if they don't walk a mile or so in your shoes. It is definitely hard to make people understand because they just don't. They're not you. They're not going to understand. But the thing is, until we teach our own to stop hating our own, this is going to always be a thing. As I am a kid of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I am a Generation Xer. I have gone through this time and time and time again. I think this washing machine has totally demolished my shoes. Anyway, the baseline of this thing is that black people have been taught for merely a century to hate each other. And that hate doesn't go away. It gets stronger with generations because of light skin privilege. I know. You're thinking, what the fuck is light skin privilege? Alright? Let me break that down for you because it's a term that's rarely ever used in society. You've heard of white privilege. You've probably heard of Asian privilege. And it also depends on what Asian you are and what favoritism that society or the world in which you live in has that to you. Like, for instance, if you are Korean working in China, somehow they magically know, and there's a little bit of bias there because there have been movies made about this where Koreans have been treated kind of funky by the Chinese. Don't ask. A movie is a movie, and if you know like I know, 9 times out of 10, no one's going to be able to tell you apart if you're Asian, except maybe other Asians by your culture or by your whatever distinction you have that sets you out to be Korean. But that's also worked in reverse if you were Chinese working in Korea, especially if you're working in North Korea, which I don't think they allow Chinese even in there. But I'm not going to swear to that. But I do know that Lisa Ling's sister had a whole lot of fucking problems doing reports in there and wound up getting into deep shit. That's not the topic. This topic is about black people teaching young black people of all different shades of brown to hate each other and take each other down. It has been systematically built that way because if you are dark skinned, you have been taught by other dark skinned people that you are to hate those guys that are brown and hate those guys that are light because they are closer to white and they think that they are better than you. And if you are brown or light skinned, you are taught to hate those brown people, but you can form an easier alliance with those brown people than you can with those black people. And the darker that they are on the paper bag test or the scale, the worse they are treated. I don't believe that should ever be the case. Now, I will say I've had my fair share of meeting people of all skin tones that are just motherfuckers. Alright? Just straight up dirty motherfuckers. My color, the darker colors, the white passing. If you're a dirty motherfucker, you're a dirty motherfucker. It's got nothing to do with your skin color. But because in the black community, some people who are white passing do use white privilege or light skin privilege. You know? And some people who are white passing use that shit to advance only themselves, not other people of color, not other black people for sure. And this is just the way the world is. You know? Because they know how to use the light skin passing thing. And I'm openly gonna honestly admit that if I had the skin tone of my brother or my sister or my mother, you damn right that I would do it. I would be, just like Dave Chappelle said, I would be Trick Whitey Man, and no one would know I was black until I started hiring all black people. Black people wouldn't know I was black until I started hiring all black people. And they were like, dude, why are you hiring all these black people? Because I'm black. And they'll laugh in my face and say, no, you're not. And let me explain that. Let me break that down for you. As I said in video 1, having to prove my blackness to black people has been a fight that I've had all my life. There has never been a time in my life where I have not had to prove my blackness to black people. Again, one time I was applying for a job at Tuesday mornings. It was a stock job because if I'm working in the back, I can't get in trouble. Unless I'm trying to steal shit off the truck, which I would never do. But if I'm working in the back, I also don't have to deal with people because I'm not that big of a people person. I've never really been that big of a people person. But when I started getting into acting, I've learned how to open up my emotional blockage. Alright? So I started learning how to communicate with people. So I went to fill out this job. And this black lady who was from England, that doesn't make her any less black, that just makes her black from England. She might have been African from England, but her tone was darker than mine. She wasn't as black as my shirt, but she was black. I went to write down black on my application. I've told this story on my YouTube channel before. The long and short is, as soon as my thing went to hit Negro, she looked me dead in my face and asked me if I'm sure. I couldn't help but crack a smile. I wasn't angry, but I was a little bit disturbed. I looked right at her and said, ma'am, I know what color I am. I am sure that I am black. And she said, I thought you were Hawaiian or something. I said, no, I'm actually part Native American too, but my birth certificate, clear as day, says Negro on it. And if I don't put black on this application, you can fire me for lying on my application. Because Virginia is a right-to-work state. And back then, the words right to work meant we have the right to fire you. I will make a part 3, just so I don't have to delete this.